mean, we really did him a disservice by having to edit it down to
we
like 4 or 5.
And I didn't think you could do worse to Lafferty, but you managed to.
Fifth and final answer.
For the final
Solid.
answer, so I'm back in the 70s drama category.
Go ahead, bring it in.
5 Easy Pieces.
Oh, good one.
The Nelms brothers to the Oh Brother podcast.
Brothers
The
and
boys.
brothers. Yes.
Brothers in
Yeah.
arms. Ian and Eshom, it's good to see you. My God,
Good
it's
to
been
see you
3.
guys.
It's been almost 3 years.
It's too long.
Impossible.
I like that
Oh.
poster in the background there.
Check it out.
You got a pretty nice one, too.
But all right, hold on though. Here's the
Wait.
question. Cheers, gentlemen.
Oh, level up. Level up.
I just got a plain mug.
We should have brought the Fat Man's ones, which we use
Oh,
quite often.
that's right.
You know, I ordered a Fat Man poster back in like a month ago, and it still hasn't come. So
You
I
know
was
that-
going to put up my Toxic Avenger poster, but you guys swiped it.
Yes. Yes.
You know that someone stole that Fat Man poster in transit.
No kidding. Yeah, I know.
Hot item. Hot item.
Yeah, that was what we were talking about. Of course, the last time you guys were here is December 2020, which is hard to believe. But congrats on Red Right Hand. Mike and I we kind of exhausted our selling Fat Man, and now we can jump on the Red Right Hand train.
Well, we appreciate you guys. Much love, man. Thank you
We
so much.
appreciate the shilling. Thank you so much.
And we were fortunate. Now, when we're recording, we're just a week out from the film hitting theaters, and I know it's on demand on the same date on the 23rd. But congratulations. We've been obviously, we're fans of you both, and so we're excited to have you back. But we were fortunate enough to get a look at the film. I think I've seen it 4 times now.
Are you serious?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I'm
man.
very
You guys know
serious.
better than we are.
You guys are
Well-
students of the film now.
You know how we do it. We always pick up on that in the background and all this crazy stuff. So
We can tell you who Rachel is, by the way. So
yes.
Yes.
we know it all.
So
guys
can
are-
you maybe just kicking off for folks who may not have, or whether they've seen it by now or not, by the time this airs, can you give us a synopsis of the film? And and also we wanted to ask you about the collaboration with Jonathan Easley, because I think isn't this the first time you guys have not really been full on writing with the film?
We did Waffle Street was a co-written situation, but yes, this is the first one that we do not have a writer credit on. Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, obviously Red Right Hand logline, right?
Yeah, it's about Cash, our protagonist, who used to have a pretty rough life. He lived as a bit of a gangster, and he's
Gone straight.
He's gone straight. He's trying to get back to the family life, and then Big Cat, that queen pin, starts to reel him back in, and that's pretty much where the movie picks up.
So how did it come about that you took this project as your next film, as opposed to, I'm sure, Ian, you have like 3 films written behind you.
Yeah. So this one's kind of a perfect storm in a lot of ways, and sort of a perfect opportunity met the script. So obviously we had met Orlando Bloom right after we did Small Town Crime. So we sat down with him, had a great conversation with the guy, spent 2 hours, one morning in a cafe there in Santa Monica, got to know him, got to know who he was, some of his interests, things like that. And we just really responded to him on a human level, and we liked him a lot. And we didn't, we've all been kind of familiar with his work as, in Lord of the Rings and Pirates of the Caribbean, some of that more romantic comedy stuff. But we saw a desire in him and a real interest in doing and changing it up and doing more audacious, characters. And so when Red Right Hand landed on our desk, first and foremost, we responded to the script. We're like, oh my gosh, like this, these pages, this dialogue, the characters are just leaping off the page. It's like we burned through it. We read it super fast, and the story and all the themes were there for us. And we were like, the script's great, but what will be the perfect storm for us is if we got Orlando to come in and do a character that I don't think anyone's seen him do ever, and to really sort of stretch into this Cash character, which was what that perfect storm was. What was exciting to us.
Mm.
He is so good in the film.
He's
good.
great in it. And
Thank you.
it's funny because my mother loves Orlando Bloom, you know, from the films you mentioned. And I put the poster up and she walks in and she says, "Who's that?" I said, that's Orlando Bloom.
That's awesome.
And she's like, "No, it isn't." And I said, "Yeah." Now, was he, you know, in that shape when you talked to him, or did he? Because I know he's really into physical fitness, kind of like Michelle is. But he really transformed into this, you know.
Yeah,
real
I mean,
big-
look, I think
he wasn't in that shape.
he's always in good shape. I think, you know, every time we've
Yeah.
ever sat down with him or hung out with him, he's been in good shape. But I mean, you know, there was definitely a transformation that he wanted to pull off with that character, like an aesthetic he was after and an aesthetic we were after. That he went, you know, doubled down on his workouts and, you know, really went to the hilt to try to get there. And he did. He knocked it out, man. He looks great. He's perfect.
He does. And doesn't he do all this crazy, like extreme sport and stuff? He's jumping out of
He
planes.
does. Yeah.
I mean, he was talking about that, doing that show to us when we were filming this. So we had no idea what he was getting into. And then he started sending us, you know, when we were editing, he was sending us like pictures of him, like jumping out of planes and skydiving and doing all this craziness. And we're like,
Oh my God.
well, man, we just want to make sure you're around to survive for the premiere. So be careful, you know?
Yeah. We did a first look when the trailer came out. And I said to Mike, I said, I was feeling pretty good about myself until I saw him doing pull-ups from the roof of the house, you know?
I mean, the man's an absolute savage.
Yeah.
And he definitely knew he wanted Cash to have a physicality to him, something, you know, I don't think I'd ever seen him that bulky before.
Yeah.
So he reached a new pinnacle there. And as far as the slabs of muscle he was able to pack onto his frame. And then he was like literally doing like 20 or 30 pull-ups in a row during the takes, which was like just an impressive strength feat in its own.
I
So
mean, we really did him a disservice by having to edit it
I know,
down to
we
like
had
4 or
to.
5.
because at one point we had this like super long take and we are like, oh man, why don't we just like run it where he's literally doing like 30 pull-ups? But
Honestly, it was a bit much.
it was a bit much, but we were like, we liked the idea of him like saying, oh no, this is just one take of this man doing 30 pull-ups on a wide. And
That wouldn't have helped the self-esteem at all.
No.
It was fine at 5, was perfect.
Dan would've
What's
set it off right there?
what's
Okay,
the story with the poster art? How did that come about? Because that's not out of the film, is it?
Yeah,
No,
well,
well, it's elements out of the film, right? They sort of like Frankenstein these things together, but we have a really talented person that we've worked with on the last 3 posters at least. And they come in and they do that for us. And you know, I think this one came out exceptionally well.
It's beautiful.
It really captured the film
Yeah.
and
I can't remember
Orlando's masculinity.
exactly. I can't remember where the still's from. I can't remember if it was like if the actual picture of his body and his head and everything. It's all one shot, but it was him like walking.
No, he's behind the scenes. He's
behind the
talking to us.
scenes,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, he's like walking
Oh.
up to or talking to somebody or walking out. It's like him walking up to somewhere. He's mid stride, and then obviously the background elements are put in afterwards, and then we put a little flame in there. Like, you know, the artist put a little flame in there just to sort of the red right hand and the flame of it, the theme of it all. We love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as we saw it, we were pumped. It was
and then
very
his
striking.
voice too is different than we're normally. It's kind of husky and he's got the accent.
Say it. Say the word.
Yeah, talk about the accent a little bit. Is it Amy Chaffee? Is that the woman that worked with the dialect on this?
That sounds right. That sounds right.
Okay.
But yeah, she worked with him for months, and he was just so dedicated to nailing the dialect, the locality as far as like what he looks like and what, you know, the holler that he was in. He was very dedicated to making sure he worked from outside in on everything, and then got the dialogue just locked. And I mean, all the way down to like the specific boots that he was wearing, you know, dictated the stride that Cash had. He was super specific and, you know, and ventured through quite a few pieces of wardrobe just to make sure he found the right one. And I mean, the hair and the facial hair and like, just created an incredible character.
We were always joking around, like lots of greasy hair on the set, you know, like, and you don't think that adds to a character, but you would see him come out of hair and you're like, oh, yep, there he is. You know, he'd walk in like with everything but the hair, and he'd come out with the greasy slicked hair and like, there he is.
Well, and with Scott Hayes, it plays his brother, Finney, right? Speaking of greasy hair, there's some greasy hair there too.
Oh yeah, it's a whole attribute throughout the film. There's a theme with the hair.
There's a thing. What about the location? Talk a little bit about filming in it was in Kentucky, right?
Yep, Louisville. Yeah. I mean, we landed there, did our scout, spent a few weeks looking for everything we thought we'd need, and I mean, it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful place to shoot. But we shot in spring, which is the most temperamental time of year, which we didn't know. So there's a lot of tornadoes, a lot of rainstorms, and like not just rainstorm, but like people are pouring buckets. It's like that. It feels like that much of a deluge coming down on you. Lightning storms, vicious lightning storms. Wow. So that type of energy was playing out, in between the shots and the shooting, and we feel like there was definitely that sort of crackle on set and on screen.
Yeah, and Andy McDowell playing a heavy. Like, whose idea was that? I mean, I wouldn't have picked her for that role.
I'd say it's her idea.
Yeah.
But to elaborate, it's funny because she absolutely was on our mind, and we talked about her in the beginning. And I'm the one that honestly, I'm probably the one reason we didn't go to her right away, because I said, well, I've never seen her do that before, right? And I just think we're going to be spinning our wheels waiting for her to say no. We
really lucked out in that. When the script was going around to agencies, that her agent picked it up, read it, and was like, who I think would be great for this big cat role is Andy McDowell. And she passed it to her client. Andy read it and then came after us and was just like, guys, I know you haven't seen me do this before, but I really have an appetite for this. I want to do this. And she had this line where she was just like, just ask my kids. I've got this in me. So we had a Zoom call with her, and she was wearing these like black leather pants, pseudo in the character at times. Not that she told us she was going to do anything of big cat, but there was definitely an edge to her. Totally pleasant, wonderful conversation. But there were moments when you could feel the edge of the character sort of seeping through, I'm sure on purpose, her showing us that, hey, I got this in me. So get ready. I'm going to rip this up.
And she lives like in the Midwest, doesn't she? She doesn't live in Hollywood.
I think she's East Coast somewhere. I think she's on the East Coast. I don't want to go pontificating what city she's in or anything.
Yeah,
so.
She's like from Charleston though, or something originally. I think
she's
right?
from. I believe she's from one of the Carolinas.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So she was actually kind of familiar. It's on the edge of those Appalachians on the other side. So she definitely understood that world really well.
Yeah, it was hard at first to get acclimated to that, because Mike and I, we talk about her a lot on the podcast because of Groundhog Day and a lot of other things, but big Groundhog Day fan. So
that's
past. Yeah,
100%. That's what really excited us, to see her come and like throw everybody a different gear, right? A different range. Something that we were very excited to see come to life on screen.
Yeah, it had to be super exciting for her to be doing something different like that, for sure.
Oh yeah,
she brought it.
She's an absolute savage.
Yeah.
And then of course we see a lot of faces that we recognized from your other films.
It's the regular band of misfits from the Nelms universe.
Right.
Yeah.
Now a motley crew that we like to bring.
We got to ask you. So all right. So we love. Now you guys were executive producers on Everyone Is Doing Great too, right? We love that series. Mike's going to want to ask you about that too. But
awesome. Yes.
So you got Lafferty in there. You got Alexandra Park in there. You got is everyone really doing great? I mean, they're all like cast as these strung out meth heads.
Yeah, fortunately, the Red Right Hand world is much different than the
Reggie's demise. I mean, it's on and on. But it was so nice to see him. And Jeremy Ratchford, his character.
Yeah.
Oh, that whole sequence in the film.
That was a great sequence.
That's dynamite.
We're just fortunate that Ratchford, wants to work with us, because the guy is he's got so much gravitas when he's on screen. We love to just throw him and Lafferty and Tom Fagetti in the craziest roles and watch them, swim, pirouette their way out of it.
When you're working with Ratchford, you know he's going to bring something interesting, no matter what. And he showed up on the day, and he had that character, and the pacing with which that character speaks.
I know.
So unique, so perfect. We were just so thrilled with that character that he brought to life.
Yeah, that's one of the things with Jeremy. And like Ash was saying, he always brings it. You know what I mean? he'll have that character up and down by the time he gets there. And, you know, he's down to make adjustments, but I can't recall us making too many adjustments with him, either in Small Town Crime or this or anything we've ever done with him, because he has a certain understanding and of those characters, and brings such a great portrayal of those wild ass people that he thinks up. They're so great.
And it couldn't be more diametrically opposed to the man that Jeremy Rashford really is in real life.
I know. He's such a jovial, fun guy.
Such a sweetheart. And then, you know, obviously you see another version of him in the series. Everyone's doing great.
Yeah.
Right. And you paired him up with Lafferty in Small Town Crime. And I didn't think you could do worse to Lafferty, but you managed to. Did he look at it and say, guys, where's the rest of the script here?
Thankfully, James is down, you know, to just have some fun and come in. If it were like, you know, we were excited because it was a character that we'd never seen James play before. It was like this kind of happy-go-lucky
Post Malone
type of,
very Post Malone. And now we were talking. Speaking of fun, is it Fun Times? Is that what's
Fun Time? Yeah,
Mike. That's what the tattoos on his eyes.
Oh, okay,
that's what it is. Yeah.
Interesting story with that character is that we actually were supposed to make another movie, and we wanted James to come in and play essentially that character in another film.
It was a much bigger role. It was a massive role.
And that one went away, and that happens. You know, it can happen in times. But we were like, hey, man, what do you think about just bringing that character into this one for a quick little cameo bit here?
And then it was,
and he's up for it.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. It was so fun to see him, you know, stretch. He really did such a great job as that character.
And he knows he's always like our first call. It's like, James, what are you doing?
Well, yeah, I mean, all of those actors and actresses, they were so good. Alexandra, you know, it's like
great,
that's the brief sequence, more or less. But I mean, she just killed it. It was just so good.
And that's one thing we're really blessed, man. Is like, look, do we call them in for a smaller part in a deep ensemble movie? Absolutely. But are they willing to do it and come on out to Kentucky, Louisville, and play with us in the forest there? Absolutely. And that's what we're really so blessed to have.
Gratefully, yeah.
Because I think this is all transcended working relationships, right? This is like we're all friends now.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, what do you need me to do? You need me to fly out here and do this? No problem. I'm down. Let's go.
And I remember we talked about the benefit of the shorthand that comes with that when you're working together. You know, it's just like you kind of read each other's minds. And Garrett Dillahunt, I loved him in this film, in that preacher role. It was so good.
Such a great guy as well. Not just talented.
He's a big dude too.
Not a small man. No, he's of stature for sure.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a man of stature, and can be imposing, but he's just a sweetheart. And I remember when we obviously wanted him to play Wilder, and really early on, actually, it just took us a minute to get there. In the process of these things, it sometimes takes a little longer to shake out than you want. And I know that we came to Garrett at the last minute there, and he was like, "Wow, I can't believe you're casting this big of a part so late in the game." And we're like, "Dude, 100%." And he's like, "But I'm ready to go. What do we need?" I was like, "I love it. I can't wait to go." I called my buddy Walton. He said, I should do it. So let's rock and roll.
Very, very believable in the role too. Another guy, and I don't, is it Ken or Kenny?
Kenny Miller.
Yeah. Kenny Miller.
Yeah. The Buck.
So I want to get his name right, because I don't want him following me home.
Yeah. That's not a small man. And we know that he follows the podcast. So shout out to Kenny.
Nice.
Kenny or Mr. Kenneth Miller, as it were.
Yeah, and we'll tell you an interesting story about Kenny, because when we auditioned him, he was about 40 pounds lighter.
Wow.
So that's no joke. 40 pounds lighter.
We were like, hey, it was great as the Buck, but we were like, hey, we kind of saw this guy's a little bulkier. Do you think you could put on some mass? And he's like, oh yeah, I could probably do that. Yeah, no problem. Let's see what I can do.
He's also a personal trainer, so he was in a little. He was just more svelte. He was just slimmer, 40 pounds slimmer. And then we said, hey, we see this guy's a little brawnier, and he was like, yeah, I got it. I can do it. And then when he showed up on the day, I didn't even recognize him when he came in the door to do fittings. And we were like, who's that guy? Where's that guy come from? Who's that guy playing? And we were like, that's Kenneth Miller. We're like, holy shit.
Well, no, obviously, we were kind of seeing him from the back, and we were like, I don't remember hiring someone that could deadlift a car. Who is this guy?
He was massive. And when he got there, and he's like, yeah, I put on 40 pounds. We're like, holy cow.
I mean, his legs were as big as my waist.
They really were.
We had to like
Wow.
alter the pants to fit his quads in. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen a few
and
of those posts on his Instagram. It's like tree
the
trunk
nice
situation. You know?
the nice thing about him too is Orlando Bloom, or Cash, isn't this great guy. He's trying to become a great guy. But to elevate him, you need a bad guy to have a good guy, like in wrestling. To have a really, really good guy, you have to have a really bad guy. And I thought he was the perfect, opposition for Cash.
Because physically you feel like they're comparable, right? You're like, oh, he's the younger, more improved version of Cash.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because like when we were talking to Kenny about it and some of the character stuff, it was in the script that they were more confrontational, that there was more of a loggerhead between them. And I know early on, Kenny was like talking to us. He goes, you know what? He goes, I see this guy as like, he really admires Cash. And and that's his hope, that he can like be best friends with Cash because he knows him from back in the day. And he was like, when I was, 15, Cash was like the man, and that's who
the
I
guy.
So now that he's out of the life, and I've inherited the role as the man. Like I'm like, I want to be best friends with the previous legend, but he's not having it.
Yeah, he saw it as like a healthy competition between the two at first, which obviously turns sour and goes south and turns into
it just turns into business.
Exactly.
Yeah, it does. But you're right. You can actually see that. There's a scene. They're in a car.
Yeah.
And he asks Cash for a cigarette, and he says no, and he's like, "You're such a dick," or whatever.
Yeah.
But in that little exchange, you kind of see what you're talking about. That relationship. He's actually looks up to him.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? And there's those little nuanced moments that are placed throughout there, and then really to understand what that character developed into from the page is an interesting journey.
Yeah, he did a great job. And I mean, you got another addition to the Nelms universe, the band of misfits, as we call it. What about Chapel Oaks? She was just amazing as Savannah in this film too, that young actress.
It was her first film. She's out of the Atlanta area, I think. I remember when we were doing the auditioning period for that role, we had a lot of like name actors of that age group that were vying for it. And, we were doing interviews and Zooms and callbacks, and man, she just stood out.
And they were good.
They were great.
The other actors were great.
But Chapel just sort of inched above them. She was just right. She was just nailing everything that we were asking her to do. And she was really just perfect for that role. And the other thing we liked about it is that there was no preconception with her. You didn't, I think when you watch the film with her in there, you're not quite sure how intricate that character is going to be woven into the story. You know what I mean? And then hopefully we catch you with some surprises throughout.
Yeah, because a fresh face like that, you're like, well, okay, how big is her part going to be?
Is she a catalyst? Is she just the sympathy card? Is she, like you wonder what red herring possibly that she's playing in the movie, or what trope she's playing. Then you realize, oh wow, she's like one of the main characters. Holy shit.
Yeah, and early on she takes a punch to the stomach.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, she, but she also, made that guy's face rearrange.
Yeah, exactly. She may have deserved it at that point.
Yeah.
But they were in there under shitty auspices, pretty reasons.
Nicholas Logan, you're talking about there, the dough.
He did such a killer job. That was
he was such a dick. I mean, can we just say what a dick? And Zeke, he's another douche. I don't like him either.
So great. These guys were so great. And they did such a great job in their auditions. And again, you're going through like 20, 30 people. And that's even the culling down. You're looking at like 20, 30 great people, and you're like, okay, we got 20 or 30 great people. Who do we want? Who's really nailing it? Who's bringing their own, kind of character to this and really feeling the vibe of the universe?
I just love Dan's reaction. Another oh my god! Yeah,
but that's the point, right?
Oh,
that's the brilliance of it. It's just it's such a great performance because that's what the reaction should be to a character.
So with Nick and the dough,
it was such a specific thing we were asking for. There were so many little nuances to that character that were actually written into the script that we were just like, this kid, like the type of nuances that we're playing with that character could be really bad. You know what I mean? Like in lesser hands. But Nick did such a great job with them. There's such hard things. He's so great at playing a creepy weirdo. It's unbelievable. And we watched a couple of a little bit of his reel, a couple of things he'd done in other movies, which was excellent, different but excellent. And you could tell that he was very good at playing eccentric characters. And then when he read for the part, he pretty much blew us away with his commitment to those nuances and how sort of grounded and with ease they felt like coming out of him.
And he was the only one that really threaded the needle for that character.
He was. With that character, he was the one.
He was the only one. And we're like, man, and honestly, like, we watched a lot of tape, and I remember we're like, I don't think we're going to find this guy. Like, we might have to rewrite this character. Yeah. And then when Nick came on, we were like, whoo.
Wow.
We got the perfect right here.
There he is. Perfect. And then we were like, I don't care what it takes. You have to get this man. Get him out here. He's that good.
That was good.
Yeah. And then then we got Daniel for Zeke. And Daniel is a great cat. And I remember he came on, he read the part. Did he read for something else first? And then
no, he read for that.
Okay.
That was it.
Yeah, but he came on.
Bolo tie on when he was doing
and the ponytail doesn't help. I mean,
he had this great like kind of used car salesman kind of vibe to him when he was doing it for Reed, which we really liked. But he had a little twang in his voice. But the cool thing about it is that the one of the like bits of information we gave to them while they for people auditioning for that role was like, this is a guy that's gone away from this place and gotten a degree and gotten past the bar,
educated,
and is a lawyer, is now running mom's business more than she ever thought she could. He's handling all the legalities of it, and they're actually becoming semi-legit in some portions of their business, and she's super proud, and they're expanding and happening. But he's been away and come back. And he always was kind of, you could say, not necessarily the runt of the litter, but the kid that didn't quite fit in. He's not the muscly type, it's not Big Cat's muscly son. He's the brains.
Yeah, the only way he was going to survive was through his mental acuity.
And then he comes back and he's got this degree and he's able to do things that she didn't think were possible. Was the line I think she says in the movie. But yeah, he came on with that used car salesman vibe and was selling it so great, that you felt like, he was he did such a slick job of with that character.
And then the ponytail was just right for Orlando to exploit later when he's like, you guys know,
calling him out. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It was just, and like, I remember Orlando's like, what do you think about this? And we're like, and he's like, yeah, just do that.
Absolutely.
Just do it.
He makes a good hood ornament too.
Oh yeah. It was a great time.
Yeah.
Now, different for you guys is you didn't shop this to the festivals or bring it around to the festivals, which all your other films, I think, have won awards everywhere. Was that like a conscious decision, or
it wasn't our decision? I mean,
okay.
We made it with Thunder Road, and Magnolia is the distributor. And then there's always that question, right? Of, hey, do we want to go to festivals? Do we want to do this? And we were throwing out suggestions like, hey, do we want to do these? Go out to these 5 or 6 festivals that we would be really excited to play at. And they were like, no, we want to just release it. Like we want to skip the festivals. We're like, okay. So it's up to them. It's whatever their business model.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What about the decision to, release in theaters and on demand? I mean, it's becoming more and more common now anyways, but
I mean, that is like the formula right now, for a lot of films of this budget. It's what they're finding success in.
Yeah, I mean, they have all these templates, right? And as time changes, I'm sure the templates will change. But literally, these businesses, these distribution companies have a way of doing business with films that they're like, okay, we know that this model works. You know what I mean? So it's literally a template for them.
And it comes down to a consolidation of their awareness and advertising spends, right? So they don't have to advertise the movie twice.
Sure.
They can get it across all the platforms, including the theatrical experience.
People who can't go to the theater or can't go that weekend, the next 2 weeks or whatever it's in those theaters, can watch it at home immediately on a quick buy. So
if you enjoy the communal theatrical experience like we do, that option's there.
Yeah, you go. Yeah.
Yeah. We were I wanted to ask you about that actually too, because when we first spoke, I remember you guys talking about being of the age of streamers, and it's not like you poo-poo that or anything.
Yeah.
But has your approach to filmmaking changed at all? Do you find with the proliferation of it?
Not necessarily. I mean, I feel like you know, the system that I have and all my friends have, even people who are not in the business that are back home, like they all have 70 to 80 inch screens in their houses with surround sound systems. So for us, the approach it's never approach of like, oh, we're making this for the,
for an iPad,
for people who watch this on the iPad or iPhone. And I don't think anybody has that now anymore. There was a point like 10 years ago where people are like, everyone's gonna be watching everything on their cell phone. I'm sure that happens, but I think most people still want to enjoy a film with a big screen as it's meant to be shown. There's something fun, way funner. I mean, I'm watching cartoons with my kids on the big screens at home. It's way funner to watch the big, with the big ones with the big sound. The pictures you want to.
But look, do we enjoy the theatrical experience? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You just you got to go with the times, and you can't worry about it.
I watch it in the theater. I can't.
Yeah, you say go with the times. Is the day of the theater kind of leaving us? I mean, are we going to be, you know, because like you said, everybody's got a 65, 85, whatever it is. Are they, you know, it's still a different experience.
Yeah, it's a weird time. Yeah.
Yeah, good. I mean, going to the theater is very expensive. Very expensive. You know, I mean, if you've got a couple kids and you're hiring a sitter, I mean, that turns into a really expensive evening. You know, it's what
we get.
For us, we're grateful that there's an opportunity for the audience to watch the movie in whatever venue they want to watch it. You know,
we've each seen it 3 times. We're still going to be in the theater.
Oh, absolutely. And clearly, you guys shoot it with that intent. I mean, just the visual of your films and the landscape, and you know, your love of John Ford and all that stuff over the years. And I mean, it really deserves to be seen in that environment, I think.
We feel the same way, but we absolutely understand someone with 3 kids who can't get out that weekend still wants to watch it at home after the kids go to sleep.
And to your point, like we put we treat these as if they are being thrown on the big screen, right? We're not grading anything for your home television. We're great. We when we get in the grade with our DP and our colors, it's up on the 50-foot screen, and it's huge, and we're drilling in as if that's the preferred format for everyone to watch it on.
Absolutely. And speaking of the look, Johnny Durango, perfect.
The great Johnny Durango
did a great job in that.
You know, you really can tell now. Like, okay, this is a Johnny Durango film. You know, the vibrant colors, the warm tones. It's just what a great job he did on this. Talk about Johnny a little bit. I
mean, look, every picture, you know, Johnny does it just gets better and better and better. I actually, you know, for the first time, we're watching movies that he shot without us. You know, he shot a couple of movies without us recently.
One of them was Mel's latest, which is amazing. That's so exciting.
Is it out yet?
No, Lionsgate's releasing, coming. And I can't recall. I don't think they have a release date yet, but it's coming.
Okay.
It'll be this year for sure.
And to your point, Dan, like when I watched these other movies, I was like, oh wow, Johnny shot this movie. You know, it's weird. Yeah. It's weird when it's on it's like a third brother for us, right? It's on our film. Yeah. But then you go see it applied to another director's film, and you're like, oh man, they're like stealing our style, you know? Like, a little bit of like envy there, you know? But no, he does amazing work. This one was no exception. We definitely delve in with this one with a little bit different approach. Generally, Ian and I are not fans of handheld as a whole, right? We think it should be, you know, we'll use it sparingly, but recently we had seen a lot of films that really resonated with us, where we really enjoyed the technique, which was a revelation to us, to be quite honest. And we were like, oh wow, well let's try to, you know, endeavor into that. We see it used really effectively here. Why is it used effectively here, and in as opposed to some of the other films that we didn't care for it in? And let's apply that to Red Right Hand and figure out a new vocabulary in that style.
So I remember talking to Johnny about how we wanted, you know, where we wanted to use it, how we wanted to use it, and we came up with let's keep the family sequences a little more handheldy, a little more voyeuristic, so that you feel like you're kind of there watching them. You're in the background, and we use it on the first big melee, the one in the parking lot of the church, because a lot of families involved. Wilder's involved.
Yeah,
out of church. We wanted you to feel like you were in the crowd, you know, watching this thing go down. Whereas as the thing goes on, you know, a lot more of it's instead of handheld, we use Steadicam, or we start to use our track, or we start to use our.
Well, we use like Easy Rig. So there's like there's like 4 degrees of it, right? So that's what we realized. It's like, oh, if you use the wrong degree of handheld in the wrong circumstance, it doesn't complement the scene.
Yeah.
So like for us, we kind of divided it into 4 quadrants. There's like and we'll start at the extreme, right? So there's like the Paul Greengrass, like crazy shaky cam, which we use very, very sparingly, because that's not always our favorite style unless it's used like in an action sequence.
You can get lost in those shots pretty easily, especially if you have a couple back to back. You're like, where am I? I'm a little seasick, and what's that? Who's in this shot?
And then now working your way to a little bit more stable, there's the traditional shoulder mounted handheld, right? We've got the operator and it's on their shoulder. And then we realized, like, beyond that, and what we shot most of the movie in, and that's what we used mostly for like the family scenes Ian was talking about, was this like on the shoulder. So it just gave a little bit more organic feel. You felt like you were kind of hanging out in the, like next to them on the couch. And then the next degree was what they call an easy rig. So it's like a backpack that you wear a harness with a little pod over your head, and a string comes down the camera, and it gives you a little bit more fluid control over it and doesn't shake around quite as much. And then the most solid version, or the smoothest version, was the Steadicam, right? So we had those degrees of it, and we would employ those different degrees depending on what we thought each scene required.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was listening to your commentary on Small Town Crime a couple of nights ago, and you were talking about John Hawkes, how he wanted to drive and do all the, peel out. So you use the Steadicam versus setting up a track so he could do the driving.
Yeah. We just found, honestly, like, look, in Fat Man, we used a bunch of like jib and dolly track and all that stuff.
And it was super useful, and we love the look of it on a lot of the stuff we use. But sometimes when you're doing these, it's a combination of things, right? It's you don't have time to lay down all this track, and you're trying to get a certain shot. And for us to be on a Steadicam in a car doing a slide, and you being able to sort of be in the right spot, right, as that stuntman's trying to hit the right spot, as the Steadicam guy is trying to hit the right spot. If you're on a track, you have to either be on the track in the right spot, luckily, or you know what I mean. You get a little more movement, a little more leeway to move around when you're on a Steadicam, so that you don't have to. It's quicker, and it feels smoother. It just depends on what the aesthetic of the shot, what you need.
Yeah, I mean it comes down to our what we realize is like it's really the camera operators that really make or break the handheld. And we have wonderful operators on this one, Red Right Hand. Jess Haas was there, and Jess Haas has done
Mike Black.
Yes, but Jess Haas does most of our Steadicam work.
Sure, yeah.
And so for us, like, we've found that putting Jess on the Steadicam, really in our way, in a lot of ways, is a better instrument for our filmmaking than a dolly and a track. It's just, you get more leeway. Like Ian says, the actors and such can kind of dance with Jess. He's a little more malleable. He's feeling it. There's a more organic quality to the photography. So that's sort of what we're gravitating towards.
It's interesting. It's like there's an aesthetic to it, but there's an economy to it. There's an efficiency that you're taking into consideration. That's pretty wild. Yeah. And one of my favorite scenes was this tight kind of back and forth two shot or whatever with Garrett Dillahunt and Orlando Bloom in the hospital.
Oh yeah.
That call it the confession scene, if you will. But man, that literally the hairs on my arm stands up. And again, I've seen it 4 times. Every time it hits that spot, it just gives me chills. I love it. It's so well acted. The dialogue in that scene is fantastic. And I love them playing off each other.
I love the build up to that scene that you're not quite sure how Garrett's going to react in that moment until he does.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, there's moments in that in that performance of Garrett's that are not written, right? You don't write all those beats that he gives Orlando in the reaction. And that's the brilliance of having wonderful collaborators and actors like Garrett and Orlando.
And we're talking about Garrett, but it's not his scene; it's Orlando's scene, and Orlando is fucking cracking in that scene.
Yes,
but we are so fortunate to have the other half of that, which is Garrett, to play off of him, because Garrett's so good with the nuance. He's so good with picking his moments and timing.
But I do remember, like, the operators came out of that room and they're like, "That was amazing."
Yeah.
And we're like,
"Oh, I can imagine." I was thinking about that, to be there witnessing a scene like that. That's magic. I mean, when he delivers that final line, it's like,
I felt like when we were shooting it, there were a couple scenes that did that, right? There's that one. There's the one where Andy and
Brian
Cash first meet in the fireplace
and the den. Yeah.
And then there's the second one with the deputy, where I don't want to give it away, but there's that scene where he comes up and confronts her. I guess at the end of it,
And it's just it's
and
electric.
they were both so great in
Yes.
those moments that you just, after we got to shooting it, it was quiet, but you felt like going outside and screaming.
I was gonna say, yeah, you just want to run off and go, fucking A, yes.
Yeah, we were all quiet, just trying to respect the moment and having to do it again or whatever, like, okay, well, let's do it again. Everybody sit back.
Oh, and there's that sort of profile in that scene where they have the two of them there and they're sort of like coming together.
Was that a Mike Black special? Wasn't it?
So we had a camera operator, Mike Black, on that one.
He did Small Town Crime with us, and then he skipped a beat because we had to go to Canada. He did not make the Fat Man shoot, but he did such a killer job on Small Town Crime and Red Right Hand. And that's one of his shots. And we
brought him back and we're like, hey, we need a lot, what we call MB special, Mike Black special, where we would just be like, hey, we don't have anything like an assignment for you on this take, but just fish, like we'd go out and get some cool stuff. And I remember he shot that and we're like, hey, how'd that one go for you, Mike? And he's all, you don't even know. You don't even know what happened right there. Like just magic in a bottle. You're just like,
I got to ask you too, talking about Small Town Crime in this film, is it the same Chevy Nova?
No.
No, but
I wish it was.
Ian and I just decided we need a mandate of like a Chevy Nova or a black muscle car in every movie from here on out.
I thought for sure that was going to be the same Nova.
The other one, unfortunately, was bought out and is living in Utah from some very happy owners with their copy of.
Oh, okay. It's remained in Utah. Cool.
Yeah, no, that's where we shot it. And that's where it's still at. I remember we called about it a couple of years after we shot it. Like, hey, we're at the Nova, and they're like, oh, we sold it. I'm like, okay. And then the owners of it reached out to us on Facebook. They're like, we own your Nova. It's from the movie. I'm like,
oh, that's so cool. That's a kick-ass car. I want to ask you too. Mike and I did an episode some time ago. We were talking about I think it's the upcoming 30th anniversary of the movie The Crow. And then, with the Brandon Lee incident that happened. And of course, the most recent incident that happened on this, the filming of the film Rust. And it got me thinking when we knew we were going to talk with you guys, and obviously it's a serious situation, but I was thinking about Fat Man and that high noon, as Mike said when we met, we were talking about that high noon sequence.
Yeah.
And there's a very similar kind of sequence in this film too, but it just got me wondering and wanted to kind of hear you guys speak to, how is your approach to the work, or like what impacts have you seen with this kind of thing where you're dealing with a lot of firearms on the set and, practices and standards and taking care of everybody. And what is that like for you guys from the role that you play?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, obviously safety is the number one priority, right? And there's lots and lots of protocols in place for this stuff.
There's nothing worth losing anyone's life for or maiming anybody.
Yeah, and we follow them to a T. Everything. We want it to be absolutely safe. That's our number one goal in this, is that we all come out with everything attached to us.
We love practical effects. So I would say it's tough for us to get on the bandwagon of like banning every practical effect in the film and don't do anything that's dangerous. I mean, people have been doing practical effects for 100 years, and there's definitely a protocol in place that I think is a safe protocol. We've used it on the last 3 movies
with tons and tons of action and gunplay.
And I think it comes down to, for us, just from our experience in it, it just comes down to having great people surrounding you in those departments. Like your first AD is your last line of defense before it goes on. But those guns come in, they get checked by, obviously the armor, hopefully an armorer's assistant. It goes to the prop person who checks it out, make sure it's cool. Sometimes your grip, who's your king of safety, your key grip, comes in and checks it out. Then you have your first AD. So hopefully there's at least 4 people looking at that weapon before it gets handed to the actor. And in the case I just threw out, which was our protocol in Fat Man, and I believe it was similar in Red Right Hand, that's 6 people that look at it before it goes into the hand of an actor.
The thing is, like, there's so many protocols in place, and if you follow them,
you should be fine.
It's a safe environment to make a movie and have gunplay. That's all you have to do is follow the protocol.
You have 4 to 6 chances to beat a failsafe. You know what I mean? In that. And then sometimes you have an actor that's super savvy. Like I remember Mel used to check it all the time.
So for us, it's like, okay, you've had a terrible accident, right? Someone didn't follow the protocols.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not that the protocols are not sufficient. They're absolutely sufficient. It's just you have to follow them. You know, I mean, what's next? You know, how do you extrapolate this out? Are we now going to, I mean, far more people are hurt and killed in car stunts than involving guns. So how are we now going to say you can't do any more car stunts? You know what I'm saying? Like,
and you think of the thousands and thousands of films and a couple of incidents, it just, I think it gets overblown a little bit. I mean, obviously not for the families or the people affected, but all in all, it's mostly, like you said, it's almost hard to make a mistake like that or to cause a problem like that. But we wanted to get your take on it.
Yeah,
it's horrible. It's unbelievable.
It's absolutely horrible. And obviously everyone that was, feels sick about it. No one wants that to happen. But if we just follow the protocols that are in place, this is a very, very safe thing to do.
Yeah. And that's it. Not that we speculate about it, but it seems like there was a lot of that not happening is probably what will.
It has to. There's no other way that scenario happens unless you don't follow the protocols.
That's right.
That's just the only way it happens. So that's what's really a bummer about it. And you have people making these really radical statements about how they're gonna, we should only ever have to VFX gunshots in the future. Well, okay, are we gonna now? No, we can break a piece of glass now. You can't put a bullet hole in a wall. Like, the tactile engagement for an actor during those performances, it's night and day between having to go pow 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 and ducking and that, like not feeling anything and having all this stuff around you to really engage you with. So for us, look, we see the difference in the performance. I think an audience can as well. So it's important for us that we give those actors every tangible environmental thing that they can to have the best performance possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And be as safe as possible about it.
Absolutely.
So what's coming up? What do you guys got in the works that you can share with us?
So when we see you in 3 years, what are we going to be talking about?
Yeah, man. I don't know.
It's not that long, but I mean, it's always hard to tell, right? Because like right now, we've got a script that we wrote that we just did a polish on. We've got financing. We've got producers. We're running out the door to hopefully start casting very soon. So hopefully we're up and running with that, within the next couple of months, as it just takes the time to get all the pre-production, humming and some hires on there. So yeah, hopefully we're up and running on that in a couple of months. But we've also got a big sci-fi that we did an adaptation from a comic book treatment that we're really excited about. That again, we're about a polish or two away from, I think, going out and starting to try to get financing for that.
And then look, we're more facilitators and producers on EDG, but we got season 2 of EDG coming out.
Yeah, we just finished that. It's all edited and rocking and rolling, and we've got 8 new episodes of season 2 that are just hitting the market, and we've had a couple.
James is finally gonna get out of jail, I hope.
Yeah, he's in season 2, so that's a plus.
Yeah, he is. He's not behind.
That's right. And the last time we saw you, Ian, we were interviewing Michelle Lang, great producer, and she actually gave birth about an hour before the interview.
That sounds about right.
Close.
And you were off to the side because she was actually feeding while she was doing the interview. It's the most incredible thing I ever saw. But now he's got to be what, two?
He's 3 plus? Tomorrow.
3.
Tomorrow is his birthday.
Tomorrow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
incredible. It's hard to believe.
I'm not sure how she feels about being cast as like a bag of bones on the farm, but
I'll say this one kept her plenty busy in the producing capacity with the scheduling and a couple other things.
Oh, I can't imagine. Yeah,
for us constantly because of the weather. We started out with a 35-day shooting schedule, went down to 33, went down to 31 and a half, and if you could just imagine the amount of balls in the air as she's trying to make sure we get everything we need throughout the shoot, it was not easy. So.
Yeah.
That's incredible. All right, before we let you go, we didn't get to do this the first time that we met with you. It actually was something we started doing subsequent to that interview.
Okay.
But we got to get the Nelms brothers top 5 film list. No
top
pressure.
5 film. Okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll just make one. We'll do 2 each, and then we'll fight about the 5th.
Nice.
Okay.
And Ian will probably win. All right, Ian, throw it in.
I'm going to go Predator because it is our
yeah.
go-to action sci-fi film of all time. It's not the only one. I think Aliens is up there too, but I'm going to say Predator because it was the first one we probably fell in love with.
Yeah, amazing. And so I'll do like an absolute yang to his yang. We're going to go Last Picture Show.
Love it.
Wow. Excellent.
A very young.
Yeah, I'm going to continue and I'm going to swing it in the middle. I'm going to go with There Will Be Blood because that movie had a pretty profound effect on us as far as performance, pacing, setting, the amount of money.
You're not going to get a better performance. That was unbelievable.
Such a great movie.
Yep.
I'm going to go Tombstone.
Ooh, I like that.
I'll be
We were
your
just
Huckleberry.
talking about that not long ago because, you know, Kurt Russell is doing oh, wait, do I have the wrong? Yeah, they were doing Monarch and Kurt's working with his son, Wyatt. And he played Wyatt Earp, right? And I wondered if that's where the name came from, but we'll have to have him on the show for that.
Yeah.
Let's go. Get him.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Fifth and final answer.
Fifth and final answer. So I'm back in the 70s drama category.
Go ahead. Bring it in.
5 Easy Pieces.
Oh, good one.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson.
That's a good list. Well,
that
guys,
is a good list.
We are more than grateful to have you back on. We were stoked just to see you guys again. It's great to see you. Happy somewhat early birthday, I guess, to
Jack.
your son for tomorrow. Yeah. And there's a thumbs up to Jack. And Red Right Hand. Congratulations. Out in theaters on demand, February 23rd. Get out there and see it. Go and enjoy the cinema experience if you can.
If you can.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I can't believe we've already been talking for an hour. It's incredible.
You guys are easy.
We knew that about you when we talked to you the first time. Like, these guys, you feed them and they just go. They're like Energizer Bunny. Well, you remember, you guys are grinders, right? You're
That's
always
right.
grinding.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
No, we appreciate it. We love you guys. We love what you do, and we're really happy for your success and good luck with this film.
The feeling's mutual,
Yeah.
guys. Thank you so much for having us on.
All right.
Yeah,
Right.
like
See you again.
as always. Let's do it again soon.
You bet.
Definitely.
All right.
You guys.
All right.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.